A pleasant day to you, my dear student. It's time for another adventure to the world of language. So just relax, breathe in and breathe out. For today's lesson, we will be exploring about the world of propaganda. By the way, what do you mean by propaganda? To start with, propaganda is the way of communicating people that is primarily used to influence an audience that may not be objectively or fairly done, but selectively presenting facts and information to encourage and persuade you as an audience, using loaded language and sugar-coated ones to beautify the information in order to produce an emotional rather than a rational response to the information that is being presented. Or should I say, to produce judgment from the people using the heart, the emotion rather, than a careful and wise judgment. Have you seen different advertisements? Have you noticed that it uses different techniques in order to sell the products, in order to be loved by the people, by the audience, by the viewers? Those things are called propaganda techniques. And that's exactly our lesson for today. And by knowing this, you will be aware about everything before believing and considering the information presented. Would you be more skeptical if you learn something like this? We'll find out. We have different propaganda techniques, but let us have some of them, the basic ones. Here are the propaganda techniques to recognize. Number 1, we have name calling or stereotyping. From the word stereotype, Merriam-Webster Dictionary says that to stereotype means to believe unfairly that all people or things with a particular characteristics are the same. For instance, a beautiful and curly hair woman, kulot at maganda, often generalized as antagonist in movies. Basta kulot at maganda, kontrabida. Another one. Filipinos are great singers. This indeed is one of the stereotypes we received as compliment around the globe. That all Filipinos are great singers, even though they're still out there who can sing very well. Another exceptional example is kapag mahirap, bida. Kapag mayaman, mayabang. Well, to think of, this is a stereotyping since we should not blame one's wealth for anything. Some people really work hard just to get or just to have a better life. It's a fruit of hard work. The same thing goes with the poor people. Number 2, virtue words or glittering generality. These words are used to dupe us into accepting or approving of things without examining the evidence carefully. For examples, the word natural, democratic, organic, scientific, ecological, sustainable. Believing that this product is all natural, organic, and sustainable, we people tend to easily believe it without taking further consideration. What we see is what we believe. Without second thought, it will always be a yes for us. That is why careful judgment is very important. Commercials in TV use this very often. They describe their products as flawless as possible, so you will eager to buy it without hesitation. Number 3, another propaganda technique is deification. This is when an idea is made to appear holy, sacred, or very special, and therefore above all law. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Christian, a religious man, and this is just for the sake of education. Anyways, this propaganda technique is the use of holy or sacred names, so that people will no longer question the idea being presented. We often use this kind of propaganda when explaining or even arguing about something. Whenever we felt cornered and we can no longer argue about something, we probably say, according to the Bible, according to God. Then, that's it. No more questions. Another propaganda technique is transfer. Transfer is when a symbol that carries respect, authority, sanction, and prestige is used along with an idea or argument to make it look more acceptable. For example, American flag, university seal, medical association symbol, or something that looks like it. This method is also called guilt or virtue by association. For instance, to give the word hope more convincing power, this uses the face of the former President Barack Obama as symbol to highlight the word hope. Another example, to give more emphasis on the phrase, be proud of yourself. It incorporates the flag of the Philippines that may symbolize be proud as a Filipino or be proud on who you are. Another technique is testimonial. When we say testimonial, this is one of the most seen propaganda techniques, usually on TV commercials, with the use of respected celebrities to endorse a product. This technique is used to convince us without examining the facts more carefully. For instance, indeed, there are lots of commercials out there that use different actors or models to represent the product, just like in shampoo world. We have these pretty actresses who advertise the product, and we unconsciously admiring and wanting to try the product to have such hair. Fantastic, right? Instead of focusing on the ingredients used to its effects, we rather convince ourselves that since the model has this great hair, we ought to believe that they are the testimonies of such great product. Well, that's testimonial. Another technique is plain fox. When we say plain fox, this is a way that a speaker convinces an audience that an idea is good because they are the same ideas of the vast majority of the people like yourself. For example, this is the will of the people. Another example is most Americans. Another example would be when the speaker tells a story about a family or people that are just like you to reinforce the speaker's point of view. This appeals to the emotion of the people that shows that the idea is also your idea and you should join. And last technique we have bandwagon. When we say bandwagon, this common propaganda method is when the speaker tries to convince us to accept their point of view or else we will miss out on something really good. The bandwagon technique is often used in advertising. For examples, this is the wave of the future. Be the first on your block. Act now. You might ask yourself, what if I was the only one on my block because no one else was interested? I have here some examples and just try to analyze what kind of technique used in this statement. It's 2020 and time to join the parade of people jogging, walking, and playing in gym fan athletic shoes. Don't be the only one in town stepping to the beat of an old-fashioned drummer. Get a pair of gym fans today. What kind of propaganda technique used in these statements? If your answer is bandwagon, well, it's correct. If you think about it, am I the only old-fashioned one in the town? I'm a professional basketball player. You've probably seen me grabbing rebounds and blocking the shots of the best players in the league. I couldn't perform like that on the court without the bounce I get from Jim Fans athletic shoes, says LeBron James. What kind of propaganda technique used? And if your answer is testimonials, you are correct. Because in these statements, LeBron James, a famous basketball player, used to endorse the product. From now on, judge carefully before completely believing on something. Always take a second look. Do not just look on the outside. Also, look on the inside. Hope you get the point. Happy learning, everyone, and don't forget to subscribe for more entertaining and educational videos.